Welcome everybody. Welcome to this COLEAD Market Insights webinar. Today we will talk about our dashboards and help you to master them to get all the data you need. I am Koen van der Hagen. I'm the Market Insights Department Manager, and I will start with the introduction of this webinar. So first we will talk about some practicalities. So today we will start with a short introduction to COLEAD and the Market Insights Department. That will be done by my colleague Griffin, who will take the word soon, and he's based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm based in Belgium, so we are also international from our side today. After the introduction to COLEAD, we will give a small intro. I will give a small introduction to our Market Insights data warehouse. And then we will go to the dashboards and we will discover them together, helped by some very practical cases, during which I will demonstrate how to use them, how to navigate through them, and so on. And at the end, we will end with the question and answers, as I said before. So the goal of this webinar is that you will have a sense of what data COLEAD Market Insights can provide you, that you will be able to browse our datasets by yourselves and by using our dashboards, and that you will be able to discover all the answers to your strategic planning, research, marketing, or any other questions. So that is the final goal. And now I will give the floor to Griffin Kaiga, our Market Insights colleague from Nairobi office, and he will introduce COLEAD and the Market Insights Department to you.
Thank you so much, Kun. I'll present to you what COLEAD is and what it is all about. So good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. So a bit of introduction about myself. I'm Griffin Kaiga. I'm a project officer working for Market Insights Department within COLEAD. Like Kun said, I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. A bit of introduction about COLEAD, in full: committee linking entrepreneurship, agricultural development. It is a non-profit, private professional association, which has been in existence for over 50 years. Working in the horticultural sector. Our mission is to facilitate and implement activities through different programs that directly or indirectly increase the contribution of agricultural sector, and in particular horticulture, to the achievement of SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. So COLEAD is made up of a team of 70+ people across 4 different offices in Belgium, France, Kenya, and Togo. We have 500+ members spread over 49 countries. So what we do is we provide technical assistance, free online and on-site trainings, and other support tools, including monitoring, regulations and standards, market insights, etc. So for more information, we invite you to go to our website, and of course, the slides will be shared in the coming days. Next slide, Kun. So an overview of the resources that we have as COLEAD. So we have a host of tools and resources. One of them is the library for all the guides. It includes technical training, market studies, and other information material. We have the e-learning platform. So it's a training platform that allows you to self-assess and freely access a set of modules corresponding to your needs, of course. So such as sustainable environment management, waste management, etc. We also have an analytics platform, which will be the main focus of today, whereby we offer interactive dashboards on agriculture production, wild agri-food trade, and others. So the regulations, There's also the regulations, which tells us the latest on the EU agri-food policies. We also have the self-assessment tools, which is to enable companies to improve their practices, and a rapid assessment of SPS control systems for competent authority. We also share news and event updates, among other things. Next slide, Kun. So COLEAD is made up of three main pillars. That's to facilitate market access, to strengthen the value chain, and to leverage impact. So under each pillar, there are various departments that are there. And one of them is Market Insights. That's the team here. And I'll present to you in summary what Market Insight is. We are made up of 5 different staff. And we also use a network of independent experts, but also expertise from our members. So what we do is collect data from different sources, cross-reference it with each other, store it in our data warehouse, and that allows us to create interactive dashboards. We also monitor the news on agri-food sector and share the information and analyses we collect at trade fairs, and we also share them via social network, social media platform, of course. So we also produce publications and reports covering different aspects of trade, among other things. Kun, I think you're supposed to be on the next slide, please. Yes, so this is a summary of what I was describing about our department. We have dashboards. We monitor news and we share information and insights. We have publications on market studies, the sector studies and market profiles. We also have we do business advisory, that is assisting companies to navigate their business through advisory services, ad hoc supports. We also facilitate on-site PG during trade fairs, stroke online B2B matchmaking. We invite you to go through our website to know more about the department also. I think now I'll pass it over to Kun, who will take us through the topic of today.
Okay, thank you, Griffin. So for those who didn't know COLEAD or our department, they have a bit more information now. And before we go to the introduction to the data warehouse and our dashboards, I would like to launch a small poll just to have an idea of how many people are using our dashboards. So feel free to fill it in. Voila, it should now appear on your screens. So have you ever used our dashboards on the COLEAD Analytics page before? And you can just reply yes or no, and then soon we will see the result. Just to see how experienced you are already with our analytics page, or if it's all new, or if you guys are using it already before. So wait a moment for you guys to fill it in. Okay, here we are. Oh, so 1 on 3 has already used our analytics page. That's nice. But still, we have 70% of the people who have never used them. So it will be good to go slow and have the full introduction. So also the people who have never used it, they can understand everything. Good, thank you. Let's continue. So first of all, I will talk a moment about what is going on behind the scenes, because actually that's where our added value lives, is, you know, because a lot of work happened behind the scenes, and then what you see on the website is actually the final result. So what do we do within Market Insights? First of all, we source data from many different sources that are available online. So we source data on trade, we source data on production, we source data on macroeconomics, for example, the population or the GDP of certain countries, and so on. And we combine different sources because every source is specialized in one specific topic or one specific geographical region. And by combining all these sources together, we want to arrive to the best set of data and information. So that's the first step here in the middle, sourcing the data. And then we are in a stage where we transform the data. And transforming data, it means that we actually want to standardize them, because every source has his way of calling, for example, country names. One says Congo Democratic Republic, the other one say Democratic Republic Congo, and for a computer system it has to be exactly the same to match. So what we do is we actually start to code the data, and we keep on one side all the numerical facts, which we call facts, the numbers, and then everything that explain about these numbers, we call it dimension, and we separate it. So everything that gives context, give additional information, we separate into dimensions. So we have fact tables with the numbers, and linked to that, the explanation that is uniquely linked is the dimensions. So for example, if you have a trade flow, the fact would be the quantity of trade and the value of this trade, and the dimensions will explain something of between which countries, what exactly was the product, when did it happen, this trade flow, and so on. So we standardize all this data from the different sources, so they are all, and then they can be all loaded and stored in the same standardized way into one big data warehouse. So the data warehouse is like a huge library where we have all our different data sources nicely organized, nicely standardized together. And it's like a big box with building blocks. They all match, they fit into each other, and we can use them to build data models. And that's the next step. So we can again extract, transform, and load this standardized data from our data warehouse and group them in smaller boxes, for example, you could call it, and that's data marts. So depending on if you want to talk about a certain geographical region, or if you want to talk about something like trade or something like production, we can group them in smaller groups. And in these little boxes, we have again our building blocks that are our data and our dimensions, our facts and our dimensions. And then we can bring them together and build data models. And that's what happened behind the scenes. And the data models, that's where the dashboards are linked to. So a data model can be very simple. For example, trade. Here we have the fact table of trade, which says every row is like a trade flow where we have a certain commodity between certain countries, a certain quantity, a certain price or value. And then linked to that, the description in the dimensions. For example, the countries are these, importer, the exporter, where this country belongs to in terms of like a geographical region. Is it an African country? Is it a European country? Is it an ACP country or non-ACP country, and so forth. We have information about the product that is linked to the product code. For example, is it a fruit? Is it under the fruit, is it a fresh fruit or a processed? Is it a mango or a pineapple, and so on. So all this information is in the dimensions. And this is all nicely linked in this type of data model. And this structure is called the star scheme. So in the middle, you have your fact, and then linked to it, you have your dimensions that give more context about the fact. And a data model can be simple, but it can become also more complex if you want to combine trade information, for example, with production or with interceptions. that is the power of our process here. By standardizing everything, we can make all these different blocks of information talk to each other. We can link them with each other, and we can create this type of data models that we can then use to have interactive dashboards running on, or that we can use directly by us to do analysis. For example, we can link to it in Excel and do some analysis in Excel. And it will automatically combine all the data and will allow us very simply to do some researches over a very wide variety of sources. So to show it differently, what we could say is that we start from a lot of data points online, a lot of like noise, unorganized, and behind the scenes we work on it and we combine it all into one symphony. We make the data talk to each other, we make them link to each other, and we make them behave all together in a nice and organized way. And that's the big work behind the scenes, just to give you a little bit of an idea. So now let's go to the dashboards. I will stop to share the presentation, and I will share my screen, and we will go together and see how we can navigate through them and use them. So let me go out of the hello. Sorry for that. So I'm still sharing my screen now. Okay. So share screen. Sorry. Stop sharing. Share. Voilà. So now you're supposed to see my screen. This is the COLEAD homepage. And on the COLEAD homepage, you have little tabs on the right. And that's where you can find the analytics page. So you see you have a tab here that is e-learning, and then the second tab is the links to the analytics page, and the third tab to the e-library that we said before, and other digital resources of COLEAD. So here you have the analytics page. And you will have a small introduction, and then you see the different dashboards. So every title here, if you click on it, it will lead to a dashboard. So a first set of dashboards is about the trade between the European Union and UK and the rest of the world. So it's everything that is imported or exported to the EU or from the EU to the world. And it's limited to agri-food products. So in our data warehouse, we have any sort of products, but here we limit the scope to agri-food products. And agri-food, that means things like meat, dairy, cereals, fruits, vegetables, even live animals are inside. And so these are dashboards covering that. There is also a dashboard on organic trade with EU, which is interesting. And then we have a second group of dashboards where we have information on production, land use, and macroeconomic indicators for all countries of the world and for agricultural products, the production data. And then we have dashboards that describe the exports and the imports of agri-food, livestock, and fishery products. And these dashboards have the advantage that you can have a special focus on ACP countries. So there is no limitation to geographical regions, so you can have any country of the world to any country of the world, but you can easily select ACP countries. So that's make it nice to use for people from Africa, the Caribbean, or Pacific region. They can zoom down on the ACP group of countries. And then we have dashboards that focus on interceptions. So this is when products come into the European Union or the UK at the customs, they are checked. And if there is something like harmful organisms or pesticide residues, mycotoxins, They are intercepted and it is recorded in a notification, and we have this data, we can track it, we can follow it, monitor it, and maybe link it to trade. And we will see later in the examples how to use these dashboards. We have interceptions on fruit, vegetables, and flowers data. So this is a bit how the analytics page is organized. Let's now start with an example, a practical example to show you how to use the dashboards. For example, I am an exporter, for example, of fresh beans from Kenya. I'm a big producer of fresh beans in Kenya, and I'm an exporter, and I want to see how I am doing compared to the total exports of my country, or what is the trend of exports in Kenya, or what are the destination markets. So I could use this dashboard, exports of agri-food, livestock, and fisheries. And when you open it, you will see, you start, I will make it full screen so you can see it good. You arrive first at a landing page, which says which dashboard you are, what is the time scope, some information on the sources. And down here, you have another button that leads you to the final page of the dashboard, where you can find more information on the sources, some definitions, technical info, a link to a website where you can find HS codes that are used to describe products, and so on. And if you want to go back, you can just click back the home button. And when you arrive to this landing page, you can say, okay, I can go directly to the report, or you can go to a next page in between that helps you to set up your report. So let's do that. Well, and here you can select the filters to choose what you will see on your report. So for me, I'm an exporter of fresh beans. I want to see fresh beans. So I can just use the search function, and it's under fresh, it's under vegetables, leguminous vegetables, fresh. And then I can go even deeper, and I'm going to look for fresh or chilled beans, Vinia or Phaseolus. This is the beans I want. So I just select it, hop, and I'm looking at beans. Now I'm from Kenya, so I want to see exports from Kenya first. So you can just use the search, go down, select Kenya, hop. The time period between 2008 and 2022 is fine. Do I want to see in value or in volume? Maybe I will start first with volume. Okay, I set everything. Now I go to the report. And this is how a dashboard looks. So it's an overview with graphs, tables. You can use filters. You can switch between volumes and values. Everything is interactive, but I will show you later how it works. So I'm from Kenya. I'm exporting beans. For example, I export 290 tons per year. Now I can see in a full year, the whole fresh bean exports from Kenya is about 29,000 tons. So me with my 290 tons, I'm exporting more or less 1% of the total exports of Kenya to the world. It's not bad. I'm, 1 on 100 tons of Kenya is from me. That's an interesting information I can find, for example, if I want to see how I'm positioned to compare to my country. I can also see the trend. So this is exports from Kenya in fresh beans to the whole world. And I can see, oh yeah, in volumes, it looks like exports of fresh beans are going down a bit in Kenya. The trend is a bit downwards. On the other hand, I see that the prices keep increasing. Here we see the prices per ton. So prices keep increasing. This can be due to inflation, maybe to increasing food prices globally. Here I can see where my beans go to. So who are the importers? Mainly Europe. Okay, a lot of European countries. Apparently Europe is the main destination. I can also decide, for example, to switch to values. So now I will see While the volume trend of Kenya exports were going down, the value seems relatively stable. And this is again probably driven by the price. The price keeps increasing. So even if we export lower value volumes, we see that the value is still more or less stable just because we get higher prices. And we see that the total value per year of Kenya of fresh bean exports is about €1 million in this case, because we are looking in Europe. So it's 100,000 euros, so that's $1 million. And we can see from this million, about, almost 50% goes to the UK, 24% goes to France, 13% roughly rounded goes to the Netherlands. But we see that also less than 1% goes to Hong Kong, less than 1% goes to Arab Emirates, Germany, and so on, many other countries. What else can I see? Oh, for example, I want to focus on Europe. I can say I will select as an importer only Europe. And then I can see all the details of the European countries and the trend of exports to Europe, and the quantity, the value of exports to Europe is 79,000 euros. I want to, for example, if I want to see for the European market, who are my competitors? Which other countries are exporting fresh beans to Europe? Then I can say, okay, let's erase Kenya from the exporters and let's look at all exporters. But let's only look at exporters that are not part of the European Union or UK. So we don't consider, because now you will see Netherlands, that's internal trade within the EU. So we can select all and unselect EU. So we only have extra European countries. And then we see in terms of value, or we can switch to volume if you want again, you can keep switching, but you see that Morocco is actually the biggest exporter of fresh beans to Europe. And Kenya is on the second place. So Kenya is very important as a source, but you see that it's 128,000 tons from Morocco, while only 28,000 tons from Kenya. Third place is Senegal. Then we have Egypt, Ethiopia, Rwanda. So quite some African countries. So this gives you an idea of which countries are the main competitors. And on the other side, you can see which countries are the main importers. So Spain is a big importer. That's probably a lot of the Moroccan fresh beans comes to Spain by truck and boat, maybe. While the Netherlands, probably they arrive with air freight. We don't know. And also in France, they arrive, United Kingdom, Belgium. So this is the type of information you can see from this dashboard. Yeah. I think that's enough. And if you want to erase filters, you can just do it like that. So let's go out of this dashboard and show you some other dashboards with a different example. For example, another example could be, I'm a consultant or a company that is interested in getting know more about the mango market in Europe. So I want to see mango imports of Europe and what are the trends and so on. So then I could use one of these dashboards focusing on the European Union. I could, for example, take this one that details the imports to the Europe. Again, make it full screen. And yeah, we want to go to the setup page. So I want to look at mangoes. I will search again mango under the edible fruits, fresh ones. It's here in this group, mango. You see there are also guavas and mangosteens. Yeah, it's combined. Sometimes we don't have a specific code for one product, but we know by experience that guavas and mangosteens are very little traded. So what will be presented here will be 99% mango. I will just have a free look and then zoom in later to what I want to see. So I will not change any other filters. Maybe I will just start with volume and go to the report. So now I can see the imports of mango by EU. And you can see already here, the first graph gives a nice overview of the trend of total mango imports by Europe and UK together. So you can see in 2022, about 454,000 tons of mango was imported by the European Union and UK together. And down here you can see, okay, where does this mango come from? Who are the biggest exporters to the European Union and the UK? Well, apparently Brazil is very big, Peru is very big, Cote d'Ivoire, and so on. But be careful when you look at these graphs. This is for the combinations of all the years shown. So it's a total. It's based on the total of all these years. If you want to have information for a specific year, you could decrease this range, for example, only to 2022. And then you can see that these graphs will change and will show the situation for 2022. So we see in 2022, Brazil was 39%, Peru was 30%, and so on. If you want to compare this with the period earlier in time, you could go and look at 2008, for example. Zoom all the way there. And you see, in 2008, Brazil was slightly bigger, while Peru was smaller, and we had Pakistan here and Israel here that were not there. So we can see how the origins are changing from the mangoes, which countries are increasing their exports to Europe, which are decreasing. And it's good news for ACP countries because we see that Cote d'Ivoire has increased, Mali has increased, if we compare again, while Pakistan and Israel seem to have decreased their exports to Europe. See, Cote d'Ivoire went to 7%, Mali is similar, but we have Senegal coming up. So this can give you an idea of how the origins are changing, or how the destination countries, the importing countries are changing, but that stays relatively stable. And if you want to see a graph more in detail, you could click here on top, and then you go to focus mode. So here you zoom in on one particular graph. And if you are not sure what type of filters you used, normally you can see it somewhere here on the right. Yeah, here you can still see what you have selected, you know, volume, world region is, the importer is Europe, the year is just 2022. So if you doubt, you can always cross-check a bit on the right what you've selected. And if you would like to see, instead of a graph, a table, you can also right-click and then say show as a table. Just right-click on the graph and you say show as a table, and then you will see the exact numbers linked to this graph. So you will see that in 2022, Brazil exported 175, almost 176,000 tons of mangoes to Europe, and Ivory Coast exported almost 32,000 tons of mangoes to Europe. So this can give you some detailed information. The dashboards are also fully interactive, so you can also just click on a certain year and you will see that everything changes. Or you can say, I want to visualize the trend only for Netherlands, imports by Netherlands, and you click here on the Netherlands and you will see the trend of imports by the Netherlands. Or you want to see, I want to see exports by Cote d'Ivoire. You click and you will see the trend for Cote d'Ivoire. So you can filter by clicking on graphs, or you can always add here Cote d'Ivoire and see the information specifically for Cote d'Ivoire. For example, here you can see that Cote d'Ivoire exports have increased a lot. You have a dip in the COVID period, then it picked up, but it kind of reached a stable situation. In terms of value, also small growth, but relatively stable. So you can easily switch between volume, value. You can say, okay, I will have all exporters, but I want to see just from ACP origins. Then you can quickly use this filter that selects only ACP countries. So now we will see exports only from ACP countries to Europe and mango. And so you can see from the ACP group of countries, Ivory Coast is the biggest. Then there is Dominican Republic, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, and so on. So that's easy to zoom in on a certain country. So this is another dashboard. I think I've shown a lot of it. Let's go back. Yeah, back to the analytics page. So imagine I want to know something more about mango. Okay, now I have a good idea about the trade, but I would like to know also something about what are the challenges of my mangoes exported to Europe? What is the biggest problems with it in terms of interceptions, for example? So you could look at this dashboard. So before we saw that Cote d'Ivoire is a big exporter of mango to Europe. Now imagine I want to see what is the challenge for Cote d'Ivoire in terms of interceptions. So I could say here, exporting country.
Can you put it in full screen, please?
Yeah, I will make it larger again, sorry. That will be better. So here I just can go to this dashboard and I can select here you have to scroll manually. So Cote d'Ivoire. And then I will see interceptions for all types of commodities. And by using control, or no, just by clicking here on this graph, on the mango section, I can see the data specifically for mango. So here we see the interceptions due to harmful organisms on mango exports from Cote d'Ivoire to the European Union. And we see that, okay, there are quite some interceptions. They tend to follow. This line is the quantity, the volumes traded. And here you have the number of interceptions. And you see, of course, that they are linked. When there is more volumes traded, you have more interceptions. And we see that a large share of these harmful organisms, interceptions is caused by fruit flies. So if you want to, now we know fruit fly is a big problem. So we can click on fruit fly and mango with using control, and then you see the number of interceptions caused by fruit fly. So this gives you some other information. If you want to know what is causing the interceptions, for example, or how many interceptions there are. This is annual data. If you want to go more in detail, you can use this other dashboard where you can see more recent data at the monthly level. I'll just show this one quickly to you. So here you can go really recent. No, this is, sorry, I took the wrong dashboard. This is again the link with trade, but you can use this one. Voila. And here you see the interceptions per month, and you can go to the latest year. So you can go again to Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, voila. And you can look, okay, mangoes is already selected from Ivory Coast, and you can see into 2024 there was just one. There were 4 interceptions, one caused by moth and one caused by documents that were not there. And if you want to look for another year, 2023, you can see, okay, fruit flies, if you just select mango, 13 interceptions due to fruit flies and some by other things, and so on. So this dashboard can give you more details also in terms of the years, and you can switch here at the bottom of the page. You can go to a next page where you can have information on flowers, if you're looking for interception on flowers, and you can have a last page with interceptions just for UK. Because since Brexit, UK is separate, and we had to create a separate dashboard with interceptions information for UK. Voila. So that's another example, another set of dashboards. And then I will finish with a final quick example. Imagine I am a company providing agricultural inputs, for example, pesticides. Okay. Is it interesting for me to register my product in a certain country? For example, I produce a pesticide for capsicum. I want to know if it would be interesting for me to register my product in Uganda. So I want to know how much capsicum, peppers, paprika is produced in Uganda. So I can then use this dashboard on agricultural production and go to have a look at the production of capsicum in Uganda. So we go again to the setup page. I'm gonna select the country Uganda all the way down. I can just use the search, that will go faster. Up, Uganda. Period is good. And I'm gonna look at agricultural production. And here under the products, I'm gonna look for capsicum. Tropical fruits and wait. I have to select, yeah, capsicum. Voila. So here I see the production of capsicum per year in Uganda in 2020. The most recent data is shown here. It was around 3,000 tons. So I know, okay, Uganda produces 3,000 tons of peppers per year. And the yield is about 1 ton per hectare. And we see that in total, there are about 3,000 hectares of capsicum produced in Uganda. And then on this table, you can see an overview of the other main products grown, fruit, vegetable, agricultural products grown in Uganda. And we see, of course, that in terms of volumes, the biggest one is the bananas, matoke. The Ugandan people know it all. And yeah, you can see fruit, stones, and if we scroll down, we see around 3,000 tons per year. We will find our capsicum. So here you can see a bit how it ranks in terms of the total agricultural production for the country. We can see in terms of the world, who are the biggest producers of capsicum in the world. So here is a ranking. You can see that India is a huge producer, Thailand, and we can understand more or less where Uganda is situated. If you go down, you will see that Uganda is just behind Kenya and somewhere between Malaysia, Madagascar, Kenya, Argentina. So that's be the ranking of Uganda in terms of capsicum production. So this is information you can see here, but you can also go to another page if you want to know more about Uganda, for example. We can look at land use, how much total land there is in 1,000 hectares. So you can see how much agricultural land there is. So a lot of interesting statistics about the country. You can rank here and see how Uganda is situated in the region, because these are all countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So you can see in terms of land area, Uganda is somewhere between Ghana and Senegal. You can also sort it on agricultural land just by clicking this little arrow and so on. So this is land use. Feel free to just browse around. You can also have information on macroeconomics. For example, for Uganda, we want to see what is the GDP. You can just click here. You can see the trend in constant US dollars, GDP trend. You can sort and compare Uganda with neighboring countries. In terms of total GDP, it's somewhere between Democratic Republic of Congo and Cameroon. You can check GDP per capita. You can have information on the population. And for example, also interesting is the percent of rural population. So if you want to assess like how many people are into agriculture, how big could be my group of buyers of my product. You can see, okay, so many hectares is produced, so many people are in agriculture, all little pieces of information that can, how rich are the people, can they afford my product, the GDP per capita can maybe say something about that. So all this type of information can feed your analysis to see if it's relevant or interesting for you to invest in a certain market or not. So this is the type of information you can find in this dashboard. Voila. So now we have seen some examples of the macroeconomics. We have seen the European focus dashboards, and we have seen some of the interceptions, and we have seen some of the ACP focus dashboards. So yeah, this is how it works. You can set up the filters, you can navigate through the different pages of the dashboard, you can switch between volumes, values, you can click on graphs, use filters. It's basically up to you to further discover and experiment with it. My advice would be, just before you take some numbers from the dashboard to include in your presentation or in your reports, just make sure you double check which filters are activated, if you are looking at a number of years or just at 1 year, and be very careful. But if you are careful, you can find all the information you need in the dashboards. So with this, it's time for some question and answers. Maybe I will have a quick look. So far, there is no questions during the webinar. We had a question before asking if we have data on intra-African trade, so between African countries themselves. Yes, we have it. You can just select as a region for the exporter and a region for the importer. If you, on both sides, you select Northern and Sub-Saharan Africa, then you will see the trade within all of Africa. But of course, we know that our data is not always perfect, especially between African countries. We know that maybe not all the products are registered at the customs when they leave or enter a country, so we miss a bit of products. Maybe there might be informal trade. So it's always just an estimation of the trade, and you have to be a bit also critical with the data. It's never the full picture, but we try, by combining national statistics, by combining global data sets together, to have the best estimation of the size and the trade flows. Where we can find the dashboards, so yeah, that's I showed you. Just go to the COLEAD website, so it's www.colead.link, and then on the home page you can find the tabs on the right where is the analytics page. You click on that and you will arrive where are all the dashboards. Yeah, so we will share the presentation also with you afterwards. Yeah, somebody asked if we have data on coffee. Of course, coffee is there. It's already answered in the chat, but you can select any type of product. I see we are 3:50, so that was the time we estimated for this webinar. So in case there is nothing else of big questions, then I will close the webinar, and I would like to thank you all for your participation, and I hope it was interesting. And feel free to share further questions with us afterwards. You can always reach us via email. Thank you.